Hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy New Moon Eve. Tomorrow is the new moon in Cancer. The activation and meditation is available below, the link for that. And also, you can get it over on Patreon. The link is below as well. So, been focusing a lot on the solstice and new moon, and now we're sort of walking our way towards Lionsgate on 8/8. So I know that's over a month out, but we want to keep remembering, right? This trajectory is a continuation of energetic upgrades, energetic flows that allow us to consistently move through our right aligned meditation, our right aligned evolution, right? Our spiritual awakening journey. So it's not stagnant, it's not static. We don't stop over here. We keep moving and growing and expanding our consciousness, our capacity to hold more light and love. And part of this is what I'm calling the new era, right? The new era is really this brand new starting point that we are at, that is happening here in the middle of, in June, the middle of 2025. We are ready and poised, if we choose, to take that leap or that step, or even just, wiggle the toe off the side of the cliff and move into this blank canvas of the unknown. Everybody's going to have their own version of what that unknown is. Everybody's going to have the degree of step or leap that is right and true to take based on your divine blueprint. But I guess I want to say, if you don't feel like there's transformation or change happening, then if you're watching this, then I'm assuming you are on this trajectory, you want to be continuing to expand, then you might need to just sort of look a little bit deeper in within and see, where am I resisting? Where am I holding? Where is there fear, right? Where is there doubt? And to begin to do some deeper inquiry. Where am I stuck? Where am I unhappy? Where are things still not working? What am I not willing yet to change, right? To create differently in my reality. Now, as we continue to move forward, we're going to most likely come across more and more of these moments where we are ready to leap into the unknown. And I don't know if you guys remember Indiana Jones's, and I don't remember which movie it is, but where, he's in that cave, he's in that cavern, and I think it's an old mine. I don't remember exactly, but he needs to get to the other side. And there's this huge gap, right, of a deep ravine of, endless fall. And the message is, he has to take the steps. And, so he's afraid, he's doubting. It's like, oh my gosh, do I do this? And then he finally starts stepping, and then the bridge appears with each step. But he has to step off the cliff in order for what I also call sometimes the yellow brick road to light up, right? So that we are guided. And yes, it takes a lot of faith and trust. Yes, it takes a lot of practice. Yes, it takes doing this process in baby steps and having faith and trust in that. And then we get to have faith and trust in the bigger leaps. Why is all this changing so fast, right? Well, one of the reasons this year has everything to do with what's happening with the planets and the ways that the energies of the planets are impacting our planet and humanity. The consciousnesses that are being activated and dismantled. So that is a part of it. The other part of it is this is just what the ascension journey is. And it is a collective event that is a long process event. And there are many names for it. That's just what I call it. Many people call it that. But so this is just the way life is now because we are evolving rapidly. The templates that are starting to really show up, right? So when I'm talking about the templates, these are structures, they're architecture, they're blueprints that are here, that are being brought down because the light on our planet and in our consciousness and our bodies is increasing. So as it increases, these divine templates are able to activate. This is the magic of the time that we're in, right? I mean, this is the stuff that fantasy books are made of. But this is real life for us if we choose to engage in it. So these templates, every light worker, right, is carrying their own version of these templates and these architectures. Our divine blueprint is going to be attracted and geared towards different teachings based on what is right and true for you. Now, mine tends to be embodiment and phases and stages, right? It's like it is understanding the processes and the nuances of the subtle energetics. That being said, in July, I'm starting a first and third week class that is going to be ongoing where we're going to be going through specific topics and activations to move us with ease and grace, with continuity, with grounding, with deeper head and embodied and soul understanding. Link will be below. I would love for you to join. The other major templates that are coming in right now have everything to do with our divinity. And I've been sprinkling this in here and there. And part of this means that we are moving from just our human recognition into our divine remembrance. Our divine remembrance is going to entail a lot of soul fractals of light that we carry uniquely and collectively. And some of those might be our individual, yet we're going to have a soul group, right, that still carries, let's say, our angelic aspects and that part of our divinity, our galactic aspects, which I put our galactic families in that category of the divine. Because a lot of there are galactics that have been part and parcel with our planetary religious systems for both the shadow and the light. And when we're talking about divinity, we're talking about our God self. And when I say God self, I'm not necessarily talking about the God as we know it through organized religion, though I'm not going to throw that baby out with the bathwater. But what we're talking about is that deeper understanding that we can find within the Gnostic teachings, for instance, the mystical teachings, the mystery teachings that have given us from ancient times information that lets us know that we are divine beings. And becoming our remembered divine beings mean that we have to up level our humanness. We were not meant to always be operating in our lower animal, right, mammalian brain, because we have a divine counterpart, right? As we evolved from our reptilian brain, even though that is still active, then we've got the mammalian brain, and now we're moving into that part of us that is God, God embodied. And that God, in the way that I'm looking at this, holding this, brings together the feminine principle, the masculine principle, right? These polarities of polar charges that create creation. All of the elements are also, they can be separated into these two camps, these two polarities, these frequencies, the positive and the negative poles. And as we continue to work with these new templates, we get to evolve ourselves. So one of the things that I've been putting in, that I put in one of my newsletter that just went out, and I, again, been sprinkling this for quite some time through, and now it's coming time, right? This month is the birthing of these new templates that I'm going to be talking about more and more here and on Patreon. So this is the time, no matter what we're calling it, all right, where we, as our humanness, is being invited to up level our ways of operating, our thought processes, emotional patterns, embodied ways of being, and moving into divine mastery and maturity. Now, we've talked a little bit about our spiritual IQ, and part of our evolution and our spiritual awakening has everything to do with up leveling our spiritual IQ, which includes not just our intellectual IQ, which is what we have all been programmed into being the main way that we operate, from that masculine, dominant, externally focused paradigm of linear and logical and rational thinking and organizing and ways of assessing what is right and wrong, good or bad, what is truth, navigates, or rather it manages our behaviors, the systems on our planet. That now is crumbling. We're watching it crumble. And we're coming more and more into the ways of the feminine paradigms, right? Which is more collaborative, communal. It is more marriage of the mind and the heart. So that intellectual IQ intelligence quotient, right, is now, well, what is my emotional IQ? How am I in relationship with my emotionality, right? Is it wise? Is it reactive? Is it still operating from only the lower wounded centers, or is it up leveling into a greater bandwidth of balance and coherence? And am I connected with my emotions and in my right alignment? This is going to be very different depending on whether your orientation is more feminine or masculine. How am I communicating? Can I communicate my emotions? Can I communicate them with myself, right? All of this deeper ways of perceiving and maturing. Then we're going to have our somatic or embodied IQ. And am I in my body? Do I understand the communication systems of my body? Do I know how my body feels and guides me? Because that's our soul presence as well, right? Through this vessel, through this spiritual anatomy that is our physical form. Now, I'm repeating a lot of these things because I'm wanting to keep the dots connected to the importance of every phase and stage of this, because now we're heading the jump off point. And are you ready to jump, right? Are we all ready to jump together? Now, as we hit our spiritual IQ, right? We have been going through our developmental phases and stages. Am I embodied? Do I have a connection with whatever God means to me, whatever divine source is, whatever love is? Do I have a connection to that? Am I in communion with that? Am I in communion with all of life? Do I understand that this is all interconnected? All of this has everything to do now with our coming into our divine qualities. Divine qualities may sound a little lofty, they may sound a little unrealistic, they may sound a little idealistic, and yet that only is relevant in those ways of perceiving from the humanness that we've been. When we start coming into our higher centers more and more, we begin to glimpse our divinity. And they have very different qualities. When we come into divine neutrality and divine love, this is kind of this entry point into being able to hold our divine qualities, our divine aspects. And that consciousness begins to transmute and transform us from within. When we surrender, when we say yes, when we continually tweak, right, the ways in which we operate from within and in the world. Now, as we begin to move forward, we're going to start exploring more and more, what are these divine qualities? And how do these divine qualities operate within our technology, right? Our sacred and divine technology that our human vessel is. Our human body, our energy bodies, is part of this amazing container that is here to hold our divinity, to bring the heavenly qualities, we could say our angelic qualities, our galactic qualities, down through the higher realms so that they embody through us. This means that we are letting go of who we've been. Now, we've been doing this all along, little by little. This is going to be perhaps for some of us a greater stretch, depending on what stages and phases you're in your journey. For others of us, it's going to be we're ready, right? We're there. And it's going to be this deeper recognition of, wow, this is what's happening. Oh, this is what I'm experiencing. Whoa, this is why I've, moved away from this over here, and why I'm being called, why I'm being moved over here. Oh, this is what it feels like to be anchored in my soul's presence. And, when we're in those deep spaces of quietude, it's like, oh, that's my essence. That is my I am. That is my I am presence. So it's beautiful times that we're in. And there's a lot happening in the world that is horrendous, that feels scary. And I'm not going to go into this. There are people who talk about this. It is not my area to talk about, but what I will say is that it's important that we remember that just as there are amazing divine forces on this planet that are increasing, there are other forces on this planet that are trying really hard to hang on to their power. Their power depends on our consciousness. If we're attached, if we hook into the fear and into the drama, doesn't mean that we can't know what's going on. But if you don't know how to neutralize the triggers within you, right, you will be activated in larger ways that distract you, that weigh you down, that frighten you, that fill your being with stress and fear and inner chaos. That's an indication that you have not yet hit those deeper levels of transmutation. Okay? So this is a spiritual war that we're in, vying for the consciousness of humanity. And that's really all I'm going to say on that. So the way that I and many others are operating is we are focusing on bringing more and more and more of the higher frequencies in, creating new systems, creating new communities, creating new paradigms, not to fight, but definitely to remove power from this over here, from these structures. So what we think, what we feel, where we put our attention, and what we're doing on our own inner realms matters. Each of us matter. And our evolution matters. Our growth, our expansion, our activating new phases and stages of love so that we can hold divine love matters. And this is the direction that we're going to be going into. Super excited. I've been like, whew, it's been a couple years that this has been percolating and waiting. And so yeah, here we go. Or as Sandra Walter says, I love how she puts it, here we glow, right? Here we glow. This is the next ushering in of the new human, the new earth, the divine human. And that is super powerful, super exciting, and more to be revealed. If this calls to you, I do invite you to join the Patreon, either as a free member or a paid member, because there are things that I'm going to be talking about that are going to be over there that are not going to be here. So the link is going to be below. And yeah, so have an amazing new moon. The activation again will be below, and I will see you very soon. Many blessings, much love, and deep, deep peace. Bye.